Hello everybody, Dr. David Alter here with our December 2016 video newsletter. As tomorrow is January 1, 2017, I want to extend to all of you my best wishes for a wonderful, fulfilling, satisfying, and most of all a healthy 2017 for you and your loved ones. Looking forward to connecting with you and working with you in this coming year. Looking forward, to me, always involves also looking back. It's pretty important from my point of view to inform how I live my life going forward based on the lessons I've been able to learn from what's happened over the course of the last year. And for me, the single biggest event that affected my life, continues to affect my life, is the passing of my father in February of 2016. I came across this quote that I'd like to share with you. It certainly speaks to me about loss, but especially about the particular kind of connection that there can be between father and son. And I want to share that quote with you. It goes like this: "Whether his passing was sudden or gradual, regardless of the health of the father-son relationship, when the man who gave you life dies, a part of you dies as well. It's an emotional rite of passage that affects who you are, how you relate to others, how you deal with your past, and most of all, how you face your future." On all of those counts, I can readily identify with the author of those words. That's something that I'm still really working with as I try to integrate into who I am, a sense of who he was and who we were, so that I have a better sense of who I can be going forward this year and hopefully into the years that follow. One of the things that this year really taught me is the value of time, in part because I'm far enough along in my life that I know that I don't have limitless time left. But one of the things that's been most encouraging is that when I really take the time to practice what I'm preaching, so to speak, to put into practice what I've learned and what I'm sharing with you, I'm also discovering that in many respects I have all the time that I need, depending on how I choose to use my relationship to time each and every day. In other words, I try to really take good advantage of the time that I have, whether I'm talking about these few minutes with you, or my day, or my month, or even some of the things that I want to do over the coming year. How am I going to use that time well? That theme of how we use time is very much about what this month's newsletter is all about. You'll find in the newsletter there are two blogs that I invite you to take a look at. One of the blogs is about a research article I came across that said that if we schedule activities, it seems to take the pleasure out of them. I thought about that, and the blog addresses some of my thoughts about it. What I came away with is essentially, it's not about whether the activity is spontaneously engaged in or something that you plan for. What really does seem to matter is how much you anticipate that activity, how much you look forward to it, even if it's something that may have been planned weeks or months in advance. Because when anticipation is activated, so is dopamine. Dopamine is this brain chemical, this brain messenger molecule that when it's released, it gives us a sense of pleasure, excitement, and this desire to look forward to something. So anticipation, whether it's something that is scheduled or something that arises spontaneously, seems to be the key to our ability to enjoy it and derive pleasure from it. Take a look at the blog. I hope that you find it informative and useful for you as you think about how you relate to your calendar each and every day. The second blog takes a look at the difference between starlight and candlelight, and it looks at how stars die and how candles die, and essentially what it is that both of those things have to teach us about how we live. Do we want to live like stars, or do we want to live like candles? If you're curious why I came up with the idea that I would much rather live like a candle flame and like a candle, go ahead and take a look at the blog. I hope you enjoy that too. As usual, I include in this newsletter links to 3 research articles. 3 research articles that have something to do with this month's theme about our relationship to time, what we do in the time that we have. Here's the first of them. The first article had an interesting finding. It said that as we get older, our brain changes, and that those changes may account for why we often think that folks who are older are less tolerant of risk. The challenge I want to have all of us think about is that maybe it goes the other way around. If we live our lives in more and more predictable and routine ways, so that we eliminate risk, novelty, the exploration for what's new and different, that turn toward what's safe and predictable may well have an impact on the brain that further reduces our tolerance for risk and increases our tendency to live our lives more rigidly and in a more confined way. Something to think about. The second article that I give you the link to is one that shows that people who actively engage in spiritual practices, when they're engaging in those practices, that may be prayer, it may be meditation, it may be walking in nature, it may be anything that gives you that sense that you're part of a much larger universe and how small and in some ways insignificant we are. In other words, when we're exercising our capacity for being humble, the practice of humility, it actually lights up an area of the brain that's associated with pleasure and reward. I found that really interesting and an important suggestion for all of us to regularly exercise practices that help us recognize our place in the larger world. There's a lot of evidence that shows that people who regularly engage in practices that exercise our humility, our capacity for being humble, actually tend to experience more joy and tend to feel that their lives are richer. It may well be that what we're seeing is the connection between those behaviors and the structure of the brain. Those behaviors structure the brain in a way that stimulates those pleasure centers, and the stimulation of those pleasure centers makes it more and more likely that we'll continue to engage in those behaviors. So there's a nice two-way relationship between our activities and our brain's health, our brain's structure. The third article that I share the link to with you is one that speaks to those folks who are still actively involved in the workforce. Workplaces that emphasize fun and ongoing learning tend to be workplaces that show much, much higher levels of productivity. These are companies that are more innovative. They tend to move to the head of the pack, so to speak, and it's interesting that that environment that encourages us to keep learning and to have fun doing it is something that actually translates into those companies doing better. But for me, the important takeaway is that that's a message for all of us, whether we're in the workforce or not, to make sure that we seed our days with fun and ongoing learning. To be lifelong learners is something that helps us be more active, more productive, and more engaged in our life, whether it's at work or outside of our workplace. So before I close up this month's newsletter, I wanted to share one really exciting bit of information with you. It's an invitation. In the middle of January, I'll be launching a 7-day challenge to grow a youthful brain. It's free for any of you who are regular subscribers to my monthly newsletter. You'll be getting a email each day for 7 days, and in that email will be links to practices, to exercises, to reflective journaling activities. There'll be information in there, all of which is designed to really put you on that path to make 2017 the year where you take bold new steps to grow a youthful brain, to enlarge your life, and to enrich your future. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, and I hope you're looking forward to receiving it. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.